When you look back in hindsight, everything is 20/20. In hindsight, we make mistakes, we're learning from it. In hindsight, yesterday and your tomorrow. In hindsight, is so much clearer now.
Have you ever worked tirelessly to achieve a dream, only to find that the destination wasn't as fulfilling as you imagined? Today on Hindsight the Podcast, I'm joined by Randi Roberts, MBA, PCC, and career life coach and founder of the Fulfilling Career Happy Life community. With over 30 years of experience as a pharmaceutical executive and entrepreneur, Randi now helps professionals align their careers with their true selves. Through coaching, she empowers others to discover what truly fits, transforming career goals into fulfilling realities. Welcome to Hindsight the Podcast. I'm Lee Jones, your host. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. How you doing, Randi?
I'm great. Now it's taking me back to the Truman Show.
I know, because I always say good morning because it's morning for me, but sometimes I'm talking to people it's in the evening, it's the next day, so it's kind of fun. So I just went through the Truman Show, absolutely. And with that being said, where are you calling in from today?
I live in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, so about an hour outside of Philly.
I know exactly what Doylestown is at. I used to live in, let's see, what is close to Doylestown?
New Lambertville, New Jersey.
I was over in Tobyhanna.
Okay,
So
that's north of it.
It's on the other side of the mountain.
I used to be a sales manager all the way up to the New York border many moons ago, so I know that area a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a while ago for me as well. I really loved it out there. Snow was crazy though, during the winter time, but I did love the area. Had some good times there.
Where are you now, Lee?
I am in California.
Where?
In Southern California. It's called Marietta. It's near Temecula.
I grew up in Santa Monica.
Okay, so there you go. We got a lot of connecting parts. I wouldn't be surprised if I ran into you at some point in our lives before today. So that'd be amazing. You never know. Hey, but this is Hindsight the Podcast. But before we get started with the hindsight, I gave a brief bio about who you are. So you take a few minutes and just tell us who you are and what it is that you're doing today.
Yeah, happy to. So I'm in my second career, but let me give a quick snapshot of what my first career was, which was in the pharmaceutical industry, as you mentioned. I started off as a sales rep in Southern California, and then that's what brought me to the East Coast. Have been with 3 different big pharma companies. The biggest jobs I held were, running billion-dollar businesses in one of the biggest companies, one of the biggest pharma companies, and loved it. Like, I was one of those crazy people that jumped out of bed before my alarm went off in the morning, couldn't wait to get to work, was as excited on Monday morning as I was on Friday afternoon. Just loved it. And then one day it felt like one day, all of a sudden it changed. I'm hitting the snooze button. And so I had to go through a lot of soul searching about what was working, what wasn't working, and what did I want to do about it? Like, what fit me at that point in my life? And so through a few twists and turns, it took me very purposefully to my current career, which is, I run a coaching business, work with folks that are sort of in the world I used to be in. Mm-hmm. Love doing that. So completely happy with helping them now achieve their goals and doing, I'm back to jumping out of bed in the morning and loving what I do and feel very, very lucky to be doing good, important work and doing well and, supporting my family and my lifestyle. So,
right.
So that gives you a little, and then from a personal front, I've been married. Next week's going to be 33 years, which is crazy to me. I know. Very cool. And we still make each other laugh, so it's all good. And I have a grown daughter, just got married recently on her, launch, doing great, really proud of her. But,
wow.
Have lived the working mom life too, which helps me to relate to a lot of what my clients are going through.
Love it. Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. And I can tell by the energy that, hell, as soon as we haven't met, I said maybe we met in a past life in these different areas where we seem to be in the same location. but we haven't really met. But this morning when we got on the call today, there was this energy, there was this excitement, and I can tell that you get out of your bed with that excitement for your clients if you're going to get up and have this excitement just for someone who you never met. So one, I appreciate the excitement and the enthusiasm, and I really look forward to this conversation that we're about to have, especially on leadership, right? Because that's a big topic these days. A lot of people want to be the leader, but they don't really know how to lead. So you can help us out with that. Hindsight. I'm just going to jump right into it, right? What was an important, and let me get my words right, good gracious, I drink some coffee or some water. Well, what's an important lesson that you learned early in your life that still guides you today?
Okay, a couple of them. One is the importance, oh my gosh, this is like something I found accidentally, but it served me so well. Pay attention to your reactions to things. Pay attention to how you feel when something happens or you hear news or something like that. Pay attention to what lights you up and follow it, because that's the key to having a career where you want to jump out of bed every morning. Yeah. So I think that one's huge. I have some more, but I'll stop there for a moment.
No, that's an interesting one, because you can equally see where you don't want to do too. When you pay attention.
Absolutely. Like, here's an example, and it's not from the work world, but it applies. Like, one time my husband and I were downsizing and we were moving to a new area, and we wanted to rent for a year to see if we liked the community. So we're looking at different rentals, and I got a call. There was one that we were pushing to get and whatever. And then I got a call that we didn't get it. And I was relieved. And it's like, wait a minute, I was actively going for this and I feel relieved. That's an example of pay attention to what's going on for you. It's very telling. And to your point, an example of, wait a minute, what I don't want.
Exactly. That is interesting. I'm looking up and thinking, I'm trying to recall back, right? But I remember someone telling me also about yourself too, how you react to different things as well as is an important in reason. They said pay attention to how you breathe, right? So if you come up to someone and there's some sort of confrontation that's about to happen, you want to be able to maintain that control, right, for that conversation, for that potential conflict, to be able to de-escalate. So pay attention to your breathing. If you start to get a little hot in there, you know what I'm saying, pay attention. And if you know that you're doing it, and this is why I'm trying to tie this back in. If you know that you're doing it, then it makes it easier for you to de-escalate yourself, right? And then de-escalating yourself, just like on an airplane, you got to put the oxygen on, take care of yourself before you take care of anybody else.
Totally.
If you de-escalate yourself, then you can de-escalate the situation, hopefully, potentially. So pay attention to what makes you jump out of the bed and feel amazing, right? And some of those things that you're kind of, you got to pause about it as well. It's a very important lesson. I appreciate that. So you said, do you have one more just off the top of your head? Or if not, I'll jump right to the next one.
Yeah, jump right in.
So after I'm assuming you had a successful career in pharmaceuticals, because you used to jump out of bed for that too. You got different parts of the country, you're on East Coast, West Coast. After such a successful career in pharmaceutical, what inspired your transition into coaching? Now, we know now you're hitting the snooze button, but what made you want to go to coaching?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, because the snooze button was like, okay, something needs to change. And sometimes the hard thing is, all right, what's next? Because I knew I was very fortunate. If I had wanted to, I could have retired, but I didn't feel done. So this is not a financial decision. This is a what I have to give and what I want to give decision. And really, I did some soul searching on what was still working for me. What were the things that I wanted to make sure the dynamics I wanted to make sure to take with me? And what were the things that weren't working or were missing? And so I did some pretty, I tried to be as objective as I could, really deep thinking on that. And then I thought about like different points in my career and where I'd be at my best and whatever. And really what I came down to was I have always I've gravitated towards business. Absolutely. I went to business school. I've run businesses. This is now my second business that I've started for myself. So I love that piece of it. But one of the things that I really always love doing is mentoring other people and sort of bringing up the next generation, if you will. Just love doing it. And so then I thought about, how can I turn this into a paying gig? Because while I may not have needed the money is important in a different way, because it's tangible evidence of the value you're putting in the world. So from that standpoint, the money is important. And I know what a pivotal difference having coaches made for me at different points in my career, both when I was trying to get to the place in the corporate world and navigate the politics. And there is some truth to it still being a man's world, and there's dynamics there. So coaches made a huge difference for me there that way. And then at the point where I got that seat at the table and taking on new levels of responsibility, that moment where you feel like, okay, I'm there, wherever there is, I'm there. I should know what I'm doing. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. So the help and the support at those moments was huge. So I'm like, all right, how do I turn this into a business? What I love, what I know help me, and, turn it into something. And that's what I've done. I've been doing it for 7 years. I absolutely love, care about, treasure my clients, but I do too. I have a couple different pieces of my business. I do the one-on-one coaching, which I think I will always do. And then I work with corporate leadership teams doing workshops and sort of deep team dynamic kind of work. And that mix, I need a lot of things going on. I need to change gears and keep it interesting. And that mix is really working for me right now.
That's excellent. You touched on two things that kind of triggered in my head. And let's see, do I want to ask this question? How did you deal? You had a coach, and I think this is the obvious answer. How did you deal? How did it feel? How did imposter syndrome grab a hold of you in those moments? And how did that coach help you to kind of navigate your way out of that?
Yeah. It's such a great question. And I mean, I had a coach. I still have a coach. Like, if I believe so much in coaching, I deserve a coach. Yeah. So I still have somebody that I work with, and it tends to be now from a business perspective. But that moment that I think about, like, how did that, when I get that seat at the table and I'm like, holy smokes. Well, I may not have said smokes, but for the purposes of the airing of this, I'll say smokes. Holy smokes. What I should know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I look around. Everybody else seems to know what they're doing. And one of the things that I was able to talk to my coach about, because it's a safe space, right? Like, here's how I'm feeling. I certainly don't want my team to know. I don't want my boss to know. My peers look like they got it together. Does everybody feel that way? And she said, yep, pretty much. But a lot of people are good at hiding it. And so that to me was, it was really interesting. It was validating. It made me feel better. It made me feel less, alone, less doubting myself.
Right.
It really broke that energy for me. And it helped me a lot in terms of just easing my path, whatever, and asking for help. That was the other thing that it enabled me to do, because you sort of feel like you should be able to do it yourself. But why struggle like that? Go to people who have walked that path before. Learn from them. Most people want to help other people. So asking for help, you're almost like giving people a chance to do something that makes them feel good. Why not do it? And then I am always looking for ways to pay that forward. And I am always like, I devote time to people who call me. They may not be clients, but they need advice. They need to bounce ideas around. And I'm always eager to do that.
That's awesome. You made me think of I was in the Army, so a colonel of mine back in the day, and he would always say, I'm giving you the answers to the test, right? Coaches can give you the answers to the test. Now, you got to go and take the test, and you got to sit down and write whatever that looks like for you in that particular moment, right? But it is very beneficial to have a coach, especially a career coach, a life coach, whatever you're having some difficulties in, because what you realize, and you made a great point, a lot of people feel the exact same way that you do, right? But you only can truly understand you. I see that you look like you're doing amazing things, Randi, but I'm sure that there's probably some struggles there,
Yeah.
from time to time, right? Go ahead.
Always, always. And I have very purposefully built a community around me of other entrepreneurs. I have my own coach and I'm in a business coaching group. I knew, like for me, this transition, I went from a big corporate job and, kind of convinced of my own importance. I had hundreds of people working for me. I was managing a big P&L, all the things.
Yeah.
And then I go to sitting in a room in my home that I have outfitted as an office. Like, am I really running a business? In the beginning, I don't have clients yet. I don't have connections. What am I doing? And I was very strategic and very purposeful about building a community around me so that I didn't feel alone. And a lot of entrepreneurs will say they feel alone. And I totally get it, but I never feel that way because I've done what I needed, put that around me. And that's one of the reasons that I love to help others with that. And I mean, we're in this weird world now where we're not the only ones who work remotely. So many people work remotely.
Right.
How do you manage that kind of thing? So I feel like I've done it well. It's working.
Hey, so can you share a moment in your career, either then or now, when hindsight revealed a decision you might have approached a little bit differently? That's a hard question.
No, it is. I'm trying to think of one particular thing. Let me tell you the way I think about this, because hindsight is awesome because we need to mine the experiences, right, in order to learn from them. And I am so committed to doing, like, one of my values or stands, I don't know what you want to call it, is if I have to go through things that are difficult, I am damn well going to get something out of it. I will not let it be for nothing. And I can choose that. I can figure out what it is. It's not like, I'm not one of these people that's blessed with a deep sense of everything happens for a reason, like God's will or something. Okay. But I'm one of those people, it's like, for everything that happens, you can find a reason. If you're committed to it, you can find a way it serves you. So I tend to look at it that way. I try very hard not to have regrets because you can't go back. But I do look at what can I do differently going forward if I'm faced with a similar situation.
Absolutely.
And I've been really lucky to sort of trust my gut, which you only get to know whether that's a good thing in hindsight. So I can think of a few like pivotal, I characterize them as my what's true for me moments. And my husband because one of them ended up in my getting married, but my husband thinks it was an ultimatum, and it wasn't. It was this is what's true for me. This is what I need to make happen. In that case, it was if that happens with you, great, and if not, I'm going to be okay anyway. But you got to go.
Okay. And
there have been other moments in my career like that where there was a situation, maybe a restructuring, say, and I was offered something that didn't work for me, and I needed to know whether that was something that I could accept or not. And going through it, I actually did just come up with something that more directly answers your question, Lee, which is something I would have done differently if I, in hindsight. Okay. There was one time where I was convinced to take a job I didn't think was the right job for me. It was a great job. And it would have been the perfect job for somebody. And the reason that I took it was the company leadership, to whom I was very loyal and had a lot of confidence and whatever. Company leadership pulled me in and said, we know that this isn't as big a job as you've had before, but we need you in this job. And here's why. We need a really strong leader. We need these things and whatever. And so I thought about it and I thought, okay, I can do that for a period of time. And I thought a lot about what could I get out of it, even though it wasn't the same kind of challenge. And was really, thoughtful about that. But what I didn't realize, and I know now, is how important the challenge was to me. Okay. And so I lost a little bit of my motivation because I wasn't striving in the same way. And I lost a little bit about like what made me such a great leader. If I had it to do again, I might still take the job for different reasons. Like you got to put all the pieces together. Yeah. But I would build challenge in a different way that I didn't do. And then I think it would have it would have kept me going in a different way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's a great answer too. That's a really great answer. Uh-oh, I'm hearing some echo. Let's see if
From
I
me?
can do it. Oh no, I'm hearing me. All right. Well, we're just gonna have to deal with it. Hey,
It can be distracting though.
yeah, no, that's a really good answer. Where you started talking about your thought process and how you in your gut and all, but what was really important was the experiences, right? What am I going to get from this experience? And in the military, I remember going to Iraq. Now I had a obviously a well, not obviously, but I had a relatively uneventful for going to war, right? Uneventful experience
Thank goodness.
when I went to Iraq. But there were still things that were inconvenient, uncomfortable, something that you don't want to have to go through. But in going through those moments, I always try to have a mentality of this is a learning opportunity. This is an experience that you normally won't experience. Most people won't experience these type of things. And what can I learn from it? And I think that's important. And it doesn't have to be going to war. It can be taking that job that you really, didn't necessarily want, but what can I get from it? It can be going into a conversation that's a hostile conversation, right? What can I get from this conversation? I think any opportunity to learn from an experience, especially an experience that's uncomfortable, don't let it, from my perspective, don't let it own you. Own that opportunity to learn something, to get something from it, right? As best you can. So what do you think about that?
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more, Lee. And I think sometimes, like, if we're committed to growth and being present and figuring out what that, like, when that light turns on for us to, wait a minute, I can learn something from this and whatever. It can be so valuable. And so to share a personal example, I mean, one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, I think you can go through, is a year or two ago, I was diagnosed with lymphoma. Pretty scary, right?
Yeah.
And almost immediately, what I came to was gratitude, because I have this tremendous support system. I am blessed with skilled and caring healthcare providers. I mean, I had to put that network together, but I got them.
Yeah.
I've got great health insurance, which I don't complain about the cost of it anymore. Like, I have a lot of things for which to be grateful. I could have been having a pity party. And that experience changed me in so many ways. And thank goodness I'm healthy now. But I have come to recognize gratitude as a leadership skill, because tapping into it increases the impact of everything we do.
Yeah.
And that's one example for me of, I had to go through the hardest thing. The only thing I could control was how I went through it.
Yeah.
And I came out the other side, stronger for it, just because I was committed to doing it. So, don't recommend it, but if you have to go through it.
and everyone is going to go through something.
Yeah, totally.
You're going to go through something. And having that mindset and getting that mindset prior to going through something, I believe is essential, because it's hard to gain that mindset when you're going through things. It's difficult.
But actually I did. I was lucky because I had already built that muscle and was looking for it.
There you go. And then you knew, I need a team. I need a team of people for support. I need these. You knew the structure of what it would look like and what you would need to get through these things. And that's, thank you for reiterating. And then you also, great segue to my question, and I mentioned this to you earlier, about a blog post that you wrote a while ago. And it was called 3 unique leadership skills you didn't know that you had. You just mentioned one, gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
We all have gratitude, right? We all can use this leadership skill.
Yeah.
Whether you do or whether you don't, it is what it is. The other 2 were, and this is one of my stronger ones, self-reflection. And then the last one was curiosity.
Yep.
So what made you write, maybe I shouldn't say, let's just talk about those three. I'm not going to say what made you write that blog because you wanted to get information out to people, right? And say, hey, this could help you out. Go ahead.
But I'm happy to talk about like sort of how I came to it and why I think it's important.
Hey,
if that's
appreciate
helpful
it
for you.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of work lately. And in fact, I've been developing a speech and going to write a book about bringing all of our skills to all of our life. So we tend to think about it as I got this bucket of leadership skills and I got this bucket of skills that make me hopefully successful at home and in life and a decent person and all of that. And if we view it a little differently and we think about just what's our bucket of skills and where do they apply, I think we can lift all boats. We can be more successful. We can work less hard for the same impact. Like I'm all about efficiency. So these are some examples of it. I talked about gratitude. Curiosity is one that you mentioned that I love, because just like, say a difficult situation comes up. Say this is going to happen. If you're running a dynamic business, you're going to take risks, and not all of them are going to work. So let's take a situation where things don't land on target. Curiosity can really help because there is something to be mined there, but you got to ask the questions. If you're not open to that and like some of the thinking comes out of the military with the whole after action review, right? If we're not open to that, the team's going to close down, focus on how do I cover my butt? How do I point a finger at somebody else? How do I pretend this didn't happen? All the things that prevent you from getting something out of that experience. Your company has invested maybe money, definitely time, energy. You might as well get something out of it. And so that curiosity is what can help you so much there. And, just being open-minded to what's going on. So I think it's a leadership skill. I really do.
It is. It is. Being curious, absolutely. That's one of, I work for a company that's one. So we have 10 principles, right? And that's one of the 10 principles. Be curious versus being judgmental.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that goes without saying, right? So,
but it doesn't go without saying. It needs to be
go
said.
ahead.
I think the way you said it needs to be said. Are you a Ted Lasso fan by any chance?
I haven't watched the last season because it's the final season.
Yeah.
Yes.
You get it. He uses that quote. It's one of his things, right?
Yeah.
And he uses it in one very powerful episode. And it is about that, like being open, being curious, as opposed to judgmental. When we judge, like, what can happen? We could be way off. We might be right, but we could be way off, and based on preconceived notions or limiting beliefs or whatever. And if we're off, it's not usually in a generous direction. It's usually in a way that pulls things down, pulls down the other person, pulls down the outcome, pulls down us. Yeah. So why do it? Like, ask some questions. You may land at that same place and go, ooh, look how good I am. I was right. Yeah. Yay, you. But still the process of asking some questions is going to bear fruit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you're going to write a book. You're writing you said speech?
Yep. Keynote speech,
writing a book about pulling all of these leadership skills so that you can be successful not only in work, but also in life. So here's my deal, because you talked about this too. I read a little bit of things on you. What is a myth from your perspective about the phrase work-life balance?
I hate that phrase.
I know you do. I think
it's harmful. Yeah. I do, because it suggests that we should be doing this like careful tightrope walk and we should always have it together and whatever. Like, I just don't have the core strength for that, right? So I think it's more about integration. Like, we don't need balance all the time, but we need it over time. So it's important to think about what's important. What are the things you want to build into your life and make space for them? Like, sometimes I went through way too many of these times where you're working flat out. It's not 24/7, but it feels that way. You're on email all the time. You're constantly available to everybody and ignoring some of the things that are that we say are most important to us, usually the people that live in our house, right? You can go through times like that, but you got to make sure that they don't last too long before you pay attention to the other stuff, or it's just not sustainable. So we're playing a long game here. And I think the concern I have with the term work-life balance is it suggests if you're not doing it at this moment, you're doing it wrong. So I think of it more as integration, and we all put it together in different ways, especially now because our work life looks different. Like we have more flexibility in time and space, how we do this thing. So we can put it together differently, but it doesn't usually happen by accident. You gotta know what's important, and you have to be purposeful about how you approach it. And you gotta be honest with yourself if you're screwing it up.
That's an important part of it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So now I just want to take an opportunity for you to do what you do best and kind of help out the listeners or some professionals, or hopefully the professionals are the listeners, right? But what strategies do you recommend for professionals feeling stuck in their current roles?
I see this so much. And sometimes, like, to me, that's either you're not getting to the level that you want, or it might be that feeling that I described early on about like hitting the snooze button, not wanting to jump out of bed in the morning anymore. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I think it's really important to take a deep look. Like, sometimes at that moment, a job comes looking for you, or you start thinking, I got to change jobs. And that might be the answer. But even if it is the answer, I say the first steps are think deeply about what is still working for you and what needs to be different. Because if you don't know the answer to those questions, you may take the problem with you. You may go into a situation that repeats this thing. Yeah. So you just have to know what it is. And there's a tool that's available on my website. It's free to whoever needs it. I call it a career satisfaction assessment. And it's in the resource section of my website. What it does is it gives you the tools to take yourself through as objective as we can be. Like there's 8 pillars of career satisfaction that I've developed. And you just go through and take a look at on each one of those. How am I doing on a scale of 1 to 10? And you can take a look at sort of that wheel and see what's working really well. Think about what that is. What do I need to be looking for in the next place? And once you're in touch with what's working and what isn't, you might be able to solve the problem right where you are. I mean, there's oftentimes a lot of reasons to stay, especially if you're in a big corporation. There's golden handcuffs. There's years of tenure. There's relationships and all that. You might be able to fix the problem right where you are once you know what it is. So I make that available to whoever may need it. And in fact, there's even a workshop video on my YouTube channel. If you want me to walk you through it, print it out, have it in front of you, and watch the video. I think that could be helpful for people.
So many amazing resources. And like I said, I looked at your webpage and I was inspired to get my webpage revamped, right? Just to, you walk through it. It's very systematic. And anyway, we'll talk about your webpage a little bit later towards the end, but it's an amazing, we got some free resources on there. So, once you get the webpage and everything, listeners, go out there, go to resources, see what you can get for free, see what she's offering, blog posts, a lot of offerings to help your career, to help your companies, how the leadership style. So I recommend it.
If you don't mind, Lee, in case people are going to have to leave us shortly, let me just
say
mention
it now.
The website address. It's Randi Roberts, Randi, robertscoaching.com.
I love it. Got it. All right. So this next question is kind of near and dear to my heart. It's kind of the reason why I started Hindsight the Podcast. It's absolutely the reason why I started Hindsight the Podcast. When I left the military, there was a lot of fear, overwhelmed by the process of transitioning from the military to the civilian side.
I can imagine.
And there was fear. So from your perspective, from your knowledge, how can someone begin exploring career transitions without feeling overwhelmed by the unknown?
Yeah, it's a good question because that overwhelm can really get us stuck.
Yeah.
I think there's an element of mindset where if you can embrace a little bit of the overwhelm, even you have a different relationship with it. And the way I think about it is, we all got our comfort zone. And on the other side of the comfort zone is where you grow.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to cross into it. You got to get uncomfortable in order to grow. And if you can embrace it like that a little bit, you won't resist it so much. So that's one mindset piece of it. But in terms of, how to take it on, it's like any other project. Folks who are in the military, the processes to go through, right? To plan and things like that. So thinking about your goals, maybe doing a little bit of dreaming on, and I do this with clients sometimes, forward thinking on a year from now, like you've solved the problem. Everything's ideal. You're excited about work. Things are working at home. And we kind of go through what would that look and feel like? What kind of boss are you working for? What kind of money are you making? What's the nature of the work you're doing? What's the team that reports to you? What other stakeholders are in your world? Like, we'll go through and do some dreaming on that stuff and try and figure out what sparks you. And I will say, Lee, it's hard to do on your own. You got to do it with someone else. A coach is one way. And I used to hold back on promoting coaching because it felt self-serving. But the truth is, I don't talk about coaching because I am a coach. I am a coach because I know the benefit of coaching. It's the other way. And so if I don't talk about it, I'm not serving people. But it doesn't just have to be a coach. It could be a friend. It could be a colleague. Find somebody else to help you walk through that process. And you never know what's going to come out of it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I like it. All right. Next question. I should drink me some coffee. It's like iced coffee. Hold on.
I know it's early for you there.
All right. Personally, how do you do this that I'm about to ask you? And then also some recommendations for high achievers, hard workers, great work ethic, go-to persons, right?
Or people.
How do you personally balance the demands of your work with recharging your energy?
Yeah. It's an important question. And the truth is, the answer is different for everybody. For me personally, I am really lucky because my work gives me energy. And so, but that doesn't mean that I don't. One of my biggest problems is I don't know if it's FOMO. I'm excited by what I'm doing. I tend to take on too much. And one of the reasons I am working for myself is that my business can look and feel like whatever I want it to. And so I make a plan. I have nobody's asking me for a business plan like they did when I was in the corporate world. But at the end of the year, I make a business plan for the next year in terms of what work do I want to be doing? What money do I want to be bringing in? How am I staging it? When do I want to leave my schedule open to travel? All the things.
Yeah.
And then I it's not that I hold myself accountable to the plan, maybe a little bit. I check against the plan. I can change it. It's my plan.
Right.
But that is what works for me. So it's good to know, each individual to know what works for you to keep you motivated. I need a goal. And so now there are times I create like a contest for myself. I run my own business. It's me and me. I have associates that I bring in. I don't have any employees.
Right.
And there are times when I've set up a contest for myself to keep myself motivated. Like, you got to know what does it for you.
Right.
And then you can create it. So it goes back to the self-awareness.
Yeah, I have a program called Visualize to Reality, right? And the key thing in that is there's a few key things. Assess yourself, self-assessment, where you're at, what skills you got, what skills you don't have. But the other picture is where are you trying to go, that goal that you spoke about? What does your future self look like? What does your perfect future self look like? And then it makes it a little easier, not always, but it makes it a little easier to make those decisions once they come about, right? Because now you're focusing on this goal instead of all these different things, that you find yourself into.
Well, that makes me think of two things I want to mention. One is that's part of why I have the plan. I know the strategy, and strategy is just about making choices. but otherwise I don't know what to say no to.
Mm.
And because I get tempted by something
Yep.
and then I have to think about it. Wait a minute, this wasn't in the plan. There's opportunity cost there. Do I want to make that shift or not? Like, I don't do it
Right.
accidentally. So that is really important. And I also think that the second one totally went out of my head, Lee, and I was hoping
No
that
worries.
while I was talking, it would come back.
I do that all the time.
Back to you, my friend.
Hey, look, so I could talk to you all day, but in the interest of time, and I definitely want to give you your time. Is there a topic or an insight that you'd like to discuss that we haven't touched on just yet?
Oh, we've touched on so many big ones. There is one, because we've talked about self-awareness. We've talked about paying attention to what lights you up, all those things. I think one thing that's important is a lot of people, especially if they're busy and they got a lot going on and whatever, they don't give themselves permission to prioritize what they want to be doing, right? And so, like, we're always thinking about everybody else. We're thinking about our team. We're thinking about our family. We're thinking about the next thing. Like, not only is it okay for you to think about what you want, but it's actually, like, I'm a huge believer in leadership by example. And if you want the people around you to be able to do that, you want your team to be able to do that, then do it yourself. So, permission slip granted.
Yeah. That's you know, you had two things pop into your head. I had some great things that popped in my head too, and I'm hoping as I'm saying all these filler words that I remember what it was.
Oh my God, I so relate. That's what just happened to me.
Yeah, but I just had this conversation with someone. They were having some struggles at work, and one of the things that I talk about is the stories that your mind tells you. And I'm not doing this saying you're crazy. Sorry, so I probably shouldn't do that, right? But but the stories that your mind tells you,
yeah,
only can see what you know, and then the brain will fill in everything else depending on how you are perceiving a situation. So they're really unhappy with some things at work. They're really unhappy with their leadership. And then they start to fill in things. Well, they're doing this because of that. They're hurting me because this, that, and the other, right? And I asked them to consider first, they're supposed to have a conversation with them as well this week. So I said, look, what you need to do is clear your mind. What you need to focus on right now is, what do you want to get out of this conversation? Focus on that. Don't focus on what you think they're thinking or what you think they may say or what you think. Because to your point earlier, you said it earlier, you could find out it's absolutely true what you're thinking, but you don't know. So you got to go in with some curiosity, but you have to go in with some structure too, and a goal. What is the goal that you want to get from this conversation, right? This person, I really would like to, align them with you, because it seems that they're right at that I'm not excited about getting out of bed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To go and do this
we
job.
want people to be excited.
Because their work ethic is so strong. I always tell people, even my team right now, I tell them, you know what I love most about your work ethic is that you give a damn. Like, you give a damn about what you're doing. You care about the stakeholders and how they will feel if certain things don't happen the way they're supposed to happen, right? And you care, and you go out and you make the effort. And I want you to know that that's important, and I understand that, because I recognize a lot of people go out and they do work to get paid,
Sure.
and there's nothing wrong with that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yep. Amen. Yep.
Go ahead.
I know. I completely agree with what you're saying, and I think that this is what we want: is we want people to be excited about their work. We want people to love their work while they're achieving their goals, and you can do it. But you got to stay curious, because what we do is, I say this all the time: the story in your head. I talk to clients about this all the time. They will repeat to me something that happened with their boss or happened with their team, or somebody gives you side eye. Okay, what's the story that you're telling yourself about that? Because we can create an entire, telenovela about somebody giving you side eye. Just ask the question. Sometimes it's nothing. So that curiosity, that's one of the examples of how that plays in an important leadership skill.
Yeah, I love it. Go ahead.
So my thought that I forgot came back to me. Can I share it?
Yes.
Okay. So we were talking about that forward focused thinking of what are things going to look and feel like? What's my goal 2 years from now? So if I want to get to the C-suite and my thinking is 2 years from now, great. What do I need to be doing? Who do I need to be as a leader then? And then, so this is 2 years from now, Randi. What does Randi today need me to do to set up for that future? And I have that conversation with myself. I have that conversation a lot with clients. And it, like, talk about keeping you close to your strategy and, picking your lane, picking your major, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It keeps you on track and it keeps you from doing things that aren't going to get you there.
Right.
That's really helpful.
That is amazing. That is amazing. I remember, and we're going to that's why I could talk to you for a while now. But I remember in the Army, it was a good leader of mine. I can't remember who they were because I was so young in the military at the time. But it was when you start thinking about promotions, right? And this person, I remember it, they said, focus on 2 ranks above what you are right now. And what do you need to do to be successful at that second rank ahead, right? This was earlier in my career, and now the military or the Army, I'm assuming the military, has gotten really good at having career progression charts and giving you different things that you should do in order to be successful at making those promotions, right? But I remember that obviously we don't have ranks and things like that in the civilian world, but there are career charts or, what are they called? I know HR has them, and like you do this job and
career development plan.
A career development plan, right? So just tapping into that and seeing what it is, and that helps you to identify those gaps.
Yeah,
those things you don't have.
It's a great point, and I'm fortunate because the company that I worked with, where I had the biggest jobs, did an excellent job. They invested a lot in that kind of thinking.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is really important, though, and I don't have experience in the military, so I don't know if it may be very different, but from a corporate perspective, the company will help you to develop a career plan. They may expect you to do it, but they'll help guide it and all of that. And that plan is in the best interest of the company. Now, it might also be in your best interest, but it's their investment. They're looking at their own growth, serving their shareholders and all those things. So it's not that they're doing anything evil, but you have to recognize that as an individual and make sure that your goals and your best interest are aligned with that, or give yourself permission to have a slightly different, you got like the underground version of it. It's sometimes we have to play the game a little bit and we might end up, oh, wait a minute, that was right for me. This is a really good thing. Good things will come of it. But if that's not going to take you where you need to go, like, nobody gets to drive your career but you. So get in the driver's seat. Don't be in the passenger seat.
You touched on something amazing. And thank you. Thank you for bringing that level as well. It's the last thing I'm going to say about the military. When we join the military for whatever reason. Right. But you got to buy into the military because there could be a war and you need to have been bought in before that happens. Right. So
you're committing everything to it.
Exactly. Right. So there's that mindset right there. And obviously the career paths or the development plans that are in the interest of the military. Now, here's the deal. For all you people who are still in the military right now and some veterans who haven't taken advantage of this mentality, we're going to have other people that's going to take your place, right? It's going to keep moving. The machine is going to keep moving whether you're there. No matter how important you think you are in the process, someone else is going to come in behind you.
And nobody should be irreplaceable.
Exactly. And so you have to mentally understand this, and understanding that will help you to prepare for your next chapter or whatever it is. I remember getting out. So in the military, the mindset for me was, and what they project, you got to fight through it. I was at school one time, a leadership school, and I actually fractured my foot. I didn't know it was fractured at the time, but I fractured my foot. We still had some things to do. We had to do a 4-mile run, and we had to go out in the field for like 3 days. And I was like, I wanted to go home, start all over again. And the first sergeant came to me. He was like, hey, we can send you home, but you're going to have to start over from the beginning. And it's like a month course. You're at the end. He said, I can give you some Ranger candy, which is Motrin, right? Take some Ranger candy, gut through it, and then be done with it. And that's what I did. And I finished it up. And when I got through, I was on profile, which means limited duty, for 4 months while my foot was healing, right? That's the mentality that you have. Probably in sports, you fight through it. But when I was coming out, I was blessed to have sought out some people who are invested in veterans or military people successfully transitioning from the military. And they gave us a briefing on VA. So this is very important. We hide a lot of things when we go to the doctor. I may hurt, arm hurt, this and that, but we don't want to really say we're hurting because we might be on profile, which is going to affect our ability to do our jobs or go out, whatever it is, right? To be successful, a successful military person in our prospective fields. And so we kind of hide these ailments just so we're not sidelined. This person told me, Levy, he told me, he said, hey, look, when you go to the VA and they do your transition assessment, you tell them everything that you are feeling. This is not the time to hold back. This is not the time to be hua, in the military. The hua. This is not that time to be gusto and a man or a strong woman or a strong man. It's not the time. This is the time to tell them exactly how you are feeling. Why is this important? It's important for everyone who's getting ready to get out the military because it's the difference between a smaller or a larger rating, which has a financial impact. It has a medical treatment impact, whether it's minute or pretty extensive. So just understanding, and I don't know where I'm going with this. I think it's more of a PSA. Like if you're going to get out the military, make sure that you take that seriously. I see so many people who believe that just because I went out there and I didn't get blown up or I didn't get severely injured or shot or whatever the case may be, then I don't deserve this. And you absolutely do. Right. So I'll just leave that as a PSA. I'll probably edit some of this out so it's not so many words. But mentality, knowing where you have to go, you're out of the military, so you got to change that mindset, right, to adjust. That's why I did Hindsight. All right. So do you have any closing words before I ask where the listeners could connect with you? Because I did a whole lot of words, and I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I've loved the conversation. I feel like I've covered so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how can the listeners connect with you and learn more about your work? So let's hear that website again.
Website, Randi, R-A-N-D-I, robertscoaching.com. So my website, there's lots of information. You can contact me through there. That career satisfaction assessment is available there. I also have a podcast and YouTube channel. I would love to have people follow me on YouTube for sure. It's called Fulfilling Career Happy Life. This is what I want for them. So Fulfilling Career Happy Life. And then I'm also on LinkedIn under my name. So people can follow me any of those ways.
I love it. All right. So today we explore the importance of aligning career aspirations with personal values, strategies for career transitions, and how to find fulfillment at work. Randi, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and inspiring stories and insights. It's clear your journey from executive leadership to coaching has given you invaluable insights. It's given me invaluable insights, and I appreciate it. And to the listeners, don't miss an opportunity to don't miss any upcoming episodes of Hindsight the Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite streaming platform and our YouTube channel. Until next time, remember, challenges are just moments in time. We can overcome them with clarity and, most important, action. See you later. Hey, thanks for joining me here on Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did. And while I have you here, why don't you take your mouse, go over and click on that subscribe button. No, not right there. Over to the right. Down, right there. Boom. Thank you. Now, thank you for subscribing to Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones.